In news that should surprise absolutely no one who has been following Pantheon Rise the Fallen, the developers have just announced that they are out of money. They have fired team members, and yet somehow they are promising early access in December of 2024. Anybody here actually believe that's going to happen? I suppose there is a snowball's chance in hell that they could have an early access that launches them through the stratosphere and turns them into the indie darling they've wanted to be for so long, and they could somehow pull an Enshrouded out of their asses. Um, I just don't see it happening. I think it's very interesting how quickly this has snowballed in the last couple of years in particular. I say quickly, they're like 12 years into development. Who are we kidding here? Um, it's I'm gonna let them say the full details here in this post over in their forums. We're gonna go read through the official announcement. Uh, Nothing was more telling to me than I want to say. I don't even know when he started, but like a couple of weeks ago, I suddenly noticed that Joppa was streaming on Twitch. Like, it's bad when the lead developer of your game needs to make money by streaming on Twitch. Oh, things are bad. So all this talk of remember how they said years ago, we've got money to get us all the way to the finish line? That's not the case. They just made the announcement here. Let's go ahead and minimize this down. This is from Chris Rowan, the CEO. Dear community members, thanks for your support. And thanks for your support. Thanks to your support and our season efforts, our team and processes are streamlined, focused, polished, and productive. So much so that we have built up the confidence to release into early access in December 2024 with 6 full zones, 12 classes, 6 playable races, and that allows us to then put out great content. We've nailed every single release date since December 2023, and you all seem to be having a blast. It's time to let more people in. But we got to make some trade offs to get there. We've had to pause our contracts, aka fire a few team members. This step was not taken lightly, it was taken with purpose, and it was necessary to plan for costs and focus resources on releasing early access. So I'm going to stop you right there because that statement is a bold faced lie. We were told several. I'd go back and check my previous videos, but I can't be bothered. You all can follow the links below and watch this train wreck unfold over the years. They promised that they had enough money to get it all the way to launch years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. They got a six figure donation from somebody, and that was going to be enough money to get them all the way to the finish line. Early access is not the finish line. Early access is nothing more than a glorified beta. It's not launch. And the lie of early access is, I think, actually, Force Gaming just did a great post the other day. It's interesting because we were just talking about it in Discord the other day. Um, the death of early access, meaning um, early access kills like games. The way a lot of this works is like even you look at Valheim, look at Enshrouded as a couple of good examples. These games have had phenomenal early accesses, right? But their populations immediately drive off, which is cyclical in nature. Every game release does this. You go up, you end up with 10% of your audience at most, 5 to 10% are the people who stick with you through thick and thin. But if you peak during early access, are you actually ever going to be able to recover from that? And the reality is that in order to even be able to peak during early access, you have to have a game that is worth playing. And so far, nothing that Pantheon Rise of the Fallen has shown has been worth playing. That's not me saying that. It's them saying that. Funding, they admitted more than a year ago, funding had dried up. And now we're being told that the money that supposedly was enough to get them to launch isn't enough to get them to launch, and they had to plan costs and focus resources and fire people. It was a step that was not taken lightly. So where'd all the money go? I thought you had enough money to get you all the way to the finish line. I don't know. It won't be easy, but we have a clear plan. I thought you had a clear plan for years. You're 12 years in or whatever, more than 10. How many decades are you in? With resources focused on this goal and with your help, we're extremely confident that we can do it. In fact, the work has already been. Hang on, wait a second though. You're saying here we have built up the confidence to release into early access, but then you're saying here that it's our goal to launch in early access to December 24, and we're extremely confident that we can do it. Well, what is it? Are you extremely confident that you can do it? Or are you actually going to do it? Is your lead developer going to build the game, or is he going to be streaming on Twitch to make supplemental income? What is it? I don't know. You tell me. Seasons will continue for now. Hellner Cave's coming next season, Necro in the following season. Then we're going to pause seasons and bear down on finishing the early access content for December. We need your help testing it and spreading the word. No, you don't. You had enough money to make it to launch. What do you need our help for? You said you had enough money to get it to launch, that you didn't need a publisher, you didn't need marketing, that it was all going to be done. So now you're saying that you can't get it done without our help? All pledges will be free to play during early access. No sub costs, no additional fees. Pledges will get a head start for early access launches. More details on early access coming soon. Let's do this. Chris Rowan, CEO. I don't know, guys. I just feel like this is another Hail Mary attempt to somehow convince people that they have something. But, benefit of the doubt, let's just say that they do end up making some sort of considerable progress between now and December, which is 6 months away. Remember, they're confident they can make it happen, everybody. Confident. Um, it's very interesting to me, and this is funny. I hadn't talked about Pantheon in a while, and we were streaming EverQuest 2 the other night, and Kel had asked me if I had paid attention to things, and I was like, I honestly haven't. I watched all the people who. The funniest thing to me ever is the group of people that I used to run with when this channel was first getting going, who got very upset when I started talking critically about Pantheon. And where are they now? I don't think any of those people are still covering Pantheon, or if they are, I really don't know. I don't see really any of those people do anything. One of them at least reached out and apologized for the way they reacted to one of my videos, which I thought was, kudos to them for doing that. But like Basram TV, where did Pantheon Plus rebranded their entire? They rebranded themselves. Like what happened to these people who were Pantheon positive? That's why, when I do make videos about Pantheon, it's very frustrating to me to see yet another indie developer who has basically pissed away the opportunity to actually create another really good, MMORPG that goes back to the roots of like EverQuest 1, EverQuest 2, Vanguard, so on and so forth. Because there is an audience, it's a small audience, it's a niche audience, but there are people who would genuinely play an indie game if it would come out in a good state. But no MMORPG has ever done that. No indie MMORPG has ever actually made it to the finish line in anything resembling a polished state. It's very unfortunate. And the worst part about this is just the lies and the half truths, the lack of any sort of accountability. I guarantee you what's going to happen. And my money would be on this. They're going to get to that early access date. They're going to say they need more time. They're going to stick to calling it early access, though. They're going to launch it. The early access isn't going to do what they want it to do. And then a few months after early access, they're going to pull it out and say, we need more time to do this. We're going to take it out of early access. We're going to go back to the drawing board, and it's just going to disappear. You've already got, like I said, their lead guy out there streaming on Twitch now. And it's gone beyond the begathons of what even Richard Garriott was doing with Shroud of the Avatar, selling his blood and stuff. This has just become it's a very sad state of affairs. But I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Like, I think I started critically talking about this maybe 3 years ago. Was when I sort of, I've always been skeptical of things, but ever since Brad passed away. But I really started seeing the writing on the wall with some of the things they started doing about 3 years ago, and just they kept going back to the table and reiterating and reiterating and reiterating, and then the art change, and then the whole we're gonna do we're gonna do this new. You remember this from last year when they were gonna do the new game mode? They were gonna release a completely new game to fund the MMORPG that they supposedly had the money to finish in the first place. Oh, which by the way, they apparently don't have the money to finish because they're having to fire people in an unplanned. But don't worry, trust us. We've figured it out. We're very confident that we're going to make it happen. Early access, December 2024. I'll let you guys be the judge. Have fun with your news today. On to the next.